All right, so I guess we'll get started now. Ani, miigwech for joining us this afternoon. Wabanokwa Indishnakas, Wabjishi Dodem, Nishnabé and Dao, Nipsim First Nation Donjaba. So my English name is Jay Goulet. I am from Nipsim First Nation, and I am Anishinaabe. Um, so I am a member of the AES Youth Council, and on council, I represent the communities of Region 3. So what is the AES Youth Council? The Anishinaabeg education system is made up of 23 participating First Nations, the regional education councils, and the administrative support through the Kanal education body. Together, we all work towards supporting student success and well-being across the system. So what is the AES Youth Council? In April of 2023, the Anishinaabeg education system elected our first youth council. This council is made up of 7 youth representatives from the 23 participating First Nations. This year, the AES Youth Council was participated in the Youth Plenary at the annual NG Forum, supported the AES in developing a shared understanding of student success and Bemonswin, co-planned as a youth summer gathering in Sault Ste. Marie presented to our chiefs and leaderships at the annual general meeting, and work together at our monthly council meetings to further develop the council. So what is the speaker series? The virtual speaker series are virtual sessions hosted by the AES Youth Council to showcase inspiring Indigenous youth from across the AES to share their accomplishments and life story. The virtual speaker series also gives an opportunity for our watchers to submit questions for the special guests. So today we have Connor, and I'm just gonna pass it over so you can introduce yourself. Miigwech.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chimigwech. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. Ani bojo kanama getchibosh komoko indigenous cause or nimkins indigenous cause. Gikendan donjba, nishin dondem, nishnabanen dao, and swakamak and donda. I want to go shimo janashimo mio bangi nishnabimo. Nishtanam ashi niswe bebonik. Hi everyone. My name is Connor Lafortune. I'm from Dokis First Nation. Um, very similarly to Jade, we're just across the water from each other. So I added a little map here because some folks, when I present, don't know where Dokis is. But I grew up in Noëlleville or à la Rivière des Français. Obviously, French is a language that I speak. It's actually my first language, and Anishinaabe is a language that I'm currently now learning. So I grew up between these two lovely places. I am in university, so I'm in my Master's of Indigenous Relations at Laurentian University, and I graduated actually from Nipissing University in a double honors specialization in Indigenous Studies and Gender Equity. Absolutely love the time that I got to spend out on the land in Nipissing and being able to learn. From communities closer to my people in that beautiful place. So these are some of the projects that I work with. So First People's Wellness Circle, Feather Carriers Leadership for Life Promotion, Thunderbird. There's some logos there that go with my school. Different things that I do with cannabis and mental health education and harm reduction. I work mainly harm reduction, Indigenous education, and life promotion work. A lot of my work consists of being out on the land with amazing youth and just people in general, just being able to learn from the land, to be able to teach the language, and to just bask in the beautiful landscape that we have, especially in our environment here. So a little bit more about me. Academic, I'm a poet and performer. One of the things I love to do is to introduce myself using poetry because I find that my traditional name, Gichwa is easier translated through poetry. So I thought that I would share that before we begin because I think it lets people get to know me a little bit better. 1 second, sorry, my slide is. My elders tell me the heart holds all of our healing, etched with branches swayed into our skin, ode meaning heart. Odemin meaning heart, berry, min ode meaning to have a kind heart. I want to have a kind heart, the kind that blooms the way of berry bushes, the one that carries the song in his beat. We feast on joy sometimes, trying to find the places it lives in our bodies. Tonight, I pictured a place where I feel calm. On the in-breaths of meditations, drums sounding the heart in our berries. I'm coming to terms with my gifts. So here's what I know. Ketchup, meaning great white spirit bear, as in he who walks in between, as in healing for the people, as in enduring the cold. The one who remembers, the one who keeps peace, the one who seeks balance. Gichubabshkamakwa, meaning being the light let in. I want to be the light let in. I think I too am a heart that refuses to rest. So I like sharing that poem because my names have multiple meanings beyond just what the translation of them means. It really speaks to my gifts and what I bring to the work and what I offer to the communities that I work with. And so I love sharing those things to really give a more in-depth look on who I am as a person. I work mostly in different organizations virtually, and then I have a lot of time that I spend on the land. One of the projects that I've been working on for a few years here is the Cannabis and Mental Health course, which shares education on how cannabis use and mental health really intersect. My focus specifically is to talk about Indigenous communities and advocate for our voices as youth in these spaces. And we have a course for that that is available online to just talk about all of those lovely things and just be able to be informed in our choices. My main work consists of life promotion. So it's a strength-based approach on health and healing using Indigenous teachings. So we are doing ceremony, we're doing land-based learning. We're really focusing on our gifts and what we offer to the world instead of always focusing on our detriment. And why that's so important to me is because a lot of the time when I saw our people, Indigenous people, in the media or in the news or anywhere outside of our communities, they often spoke about us through a lens of deficit. And that was really hard to hear because I would go back home to Dokis and I would see this beautiful, vibrant community that was singing and dancing and telling stories and being out on the land. However, every time I turned to the screen or the news, I would see this deficit that we were spoken through. So life promotion for me became like the answer that I've been searching for. I've been working in life promotion since 2020. It's been a really beautiful journey of discovery, of getting to travel all over Turtle Island. I'll share a little bit more later, but I've been out to the west quite a bit, the east a little bit more in the last few years, and just being able to host youth camps and to be out presenting and sharing our language and our teachings with the rest of the communities out there. It's really beautiful to be able to also share teachings between nations. And so learning a lot from the Haisla people and the Dene people, just being able to share those gifts and those stories and see how many of them intersect with the ones that I've been given. So why is it important to talk about life promotion, this shift from mental illness to mental wellness and being able to talk about our communities in a good way? It's because we need to focus on that community aspect. And so getting together, I got the opportunity to participate in the last AES conference, and that was such a life promotion initiative, being able to sit in ceremony with amazing people, being able to laugh and being able to paint as community members and teach each other skills. It was absolutely beautiful to be able to participate in those spaces because it is putting in action the work that I do all the time. Some of the things that we work on in life promotion is answering those really hard questions of like, who am I? Where do I come from? Why am I here? And where am I going? And those four questions really speak to hope, meaning, belonging, and purpose. And those are questions that not only Indigenous youth are asking themselves, we're all asking themselves, and sometimes it's difficult because it's the little parts like, where am I going right now? Like, I have this really busy week, where am I going with this? Or it's, where am I going in 10 years? What do I want to do for after university? What do I want to do in university? All of those questions that are a little bit hard and bring up a lot of anxiety. It's about like calming those and being able to do those strength-based activities and those teachings to be able to ground ourselves in that. So for myself, one of the things I love to do to ground myself is to do my smudge, which I have always on my desk. I also have candles that I always have. I actually have candles that have been made locally in Nipissing, cedar canoe, really beautiful candles. If ever you want to get some, there's those pieces that ground us, that make us feel good. I was at a language camp just this weekend, and we were talking about the beauty of learning our language and being able to see it everywhere in our home. And some of us aren't as fortunate to have language speakers near us, and I'm in that case. Language hasn't been something that has been fluent in our families for 6 generations, and so reclaiming language is very important to me. And just being able to be out on the land and talk about the language, reigniting that light of like wanting to learn it even more. So printing out words that I find around the house. So like things like bed and fork and table, and being able to identify them in the language and place those all over the home. So those are the types of things that I do quite often in the work that I do. But it can also look like this. So this is one example of what life promotion looks like. This is when I was in Tronagwichin and Kwanlundun territory in the Yukon or near Whitehorse, and we went dog sledding. And that for me was like an amazing opportunity to be able to be out in the land, to learn from other people's teachings and to bring my own. And this is just one example of the things that we do on those land-based camps. This one was a really beautiful one because it was no hydro, no electricity, no water, and it was minus 40 degrees. And so a lot of fun challenges come with like living in the bush and having to reenact that like survival piece that we used to live with every single day, and being able to escape from technology, from those pieces that aren't serving us, and just to be able to live out on the land. I host a lot of youth camps as well myself. This is the one I did this summer. It was called Nigiwe, or Going Home. Just being able to find home within yourself and your community. Here we made drums. We did all sorts of amazing activities, and we were out on the land. And this is the one we did out in our traditional territories in Dokis, right by the water, being able to have community members come and visit us, and all of those beautiful things that come with learning out on the land. So other things that we did are medicine walks. I absolutely love learning more about the medicines, and something I find really beautiful is that I can walk the same forest 100 times, and as soon as I identify the plant that I'm seeing, the plant that I've never really acknowledged before, as soon as I learn their name or I learned how to harvest them, then I see them everywhere. That's something that happens for me with a plant like sumac. I had seen the plants and I really hadn't bothered to learn more about it. And then a few years ago, I decided to learn a little bit more about the plants and the usage and how to harvest and all of those beautiful teachings that come with it. And now suddenly I see sumac absolutely everywhere. And that happens for me with all the plants that I learn, and being able to harvest them and to keep them close is very important. I make a lot of teas and salves, and I do that in workshops and also just for myself and being able to share with my family. So in this picture, we were talking about the balsam fir, and we were extracting the salve to make the gum to make some salve later on in the day. And so here's us making some salve, being able to treat our cuts and burns and our pains with natural resources. So using things like bear grease or rendering deer grease, and being able to add different medicines that soothe pain, and being able to learn the practices that we used to have and the connection that we used to have with the earth. There's some beautiful things that I get taught in community, and different things that get repeated in different ways. So one of the people that I work with very often is Perry McLeod, and he shares a lot of stories about how the land used to respond to our needs. And so prior to things like indoor plumbing and housing, everything that we brought into our body, we extracted from our body out onto the land. And so the land would learn from our bodies what we needed. And over time, the land would go, the community really didn't have a lot of antioxidants this year. And next year, a harvest would come and there'd be a plant with a lot of antioxidants in it. And then another year would come, oh, they're missing this vitamin. And suddenly the next year the plant would come with many of those vitamins. And so that connection that we have with the earth and the way that we used to be reciprocal in that relationship is really important for me to reclaim, especially as someone who grew up in the bush, and being able to give back to the land that has always given to me is really beautiful, and being able to bring back those teachings. Also, things that are a little bit more traditional, or quote unquote traditional. And so this is part of my research for my master's. One of the things that we did is decided to prop up a teepee, because they were putting up a teepee at their house, and they called me up, and I dropped everything and I was like, yeah, let's do that. And the experience of doing this on a beautiful day, and being able to learn the old ways of doing things, just everything by hand, and the beautiful ways that the teepee just shapes itself, and the engineering that comes with it. Those experiences are so life-changing. And the next morning we had ceremony by the beach, and just being able to ground ourselves and remove ourselves from the really fast-paced world, and having to take the time to work communally, to pass those poles one by one. It's really beautiful what you can do when you slow down and do those amazing things. So in 2022, um, I co-wrote the Life Promotion Toolkit for Indigenous youth. And I really didn't know what life promotion was until I got onto this project. I got into this role with the Thunderbird Partnership Foundation, where we were 9 youth and an elder, and they were like, "We're going to write about life promotion," and I had no idea what that was. And throughout the process, we broke that down and tried to give the tools to youth on how to live long and good lives, because that was an ask from our communities of being like, how can we find joy again? How can we find those beautiful aspects of life? And this is what came of it. And I worked with really amazing people who are now really good lifelong friends from all over. Megan Metz from Haisla territory, Taylor, who's Dene, Gabrielle, and Marshall, who are Cree, different beautiful blends of stories and communities from all over Turtle Island, and being able to work together from different perspectives to create this amazing toolkit. And you can find the toolkit online at wisepractices.ca. And there is a pop-up that goes for youth, and you click on it, and then you see my face introducing the video. So that's how you know you're at the right spot. But there are beautiful tools in there on connecting. So the four strands of that toolkit is connecting to land, self, community, and spirit. And each section goes through like reflections of like, how are you feeling? Where do you find that you have a connection with the land, and where do you want to maintain it? And then you go through activities. So a lot of them have to do with different practices. So, oh, I guess I took that part out. So the land activities like going out and making a lodge, going out for a walk, doing some canoeing, those pieces that really connect us to the land and the people around us. When it's connection to self, being able to affirm yourself and your decisions, being able to talk about your morals and your values and what you believe in life. Community, so things like ceremony, creating festivals. In Dokis, we have our summer fest where we play baseball and horseshoe, and there's music that's being played. And so those types of aspects that are communal, like how can we reignite those beautiful connections we have with the people around us, and also spirit. And a lot of people have a hard time with prescribing these activities for what spirituality can look like, because it looks so different for everybody. But one of my favorite things about the connection to spirituality section is that we have learning your creation stories. And creation stories don't need to just be like the genesis, the beginning of things. So when we talk about Sky Woman falling and the animals putting the dirt on the turtle's back, those are beautiful creation stories, but they're not the only creation stories that we have. Sometimes creation stories are as simple as, how did your parents meet? Why did you end up in the community that you are? Where do you plan on going? Those are creation stories, the little pieces that make you know who you are. But also other aspects of spirituality can be creating regalia items. Um, Over the past few years, I've been building my bundle exponentially. When around COVID times, I started making my first regalia for since I was a child, and so that process for me was very beautiful and very connecting and grounding. And I ended up being able to make my mom a regalia at the same time. And that connection piece is really special for me. I'm a crafter, I'm a sewer, and she is not. And so obviously, I'm gonna be able to provide those skills to make her regalia that she's always wanted. And now in the past year, I've created another one. Just being able to connect with myself and ground myself in those teachings, and to learn from every little mistake that I made the first time around, I think is really special. Um, Connection to community as well. There's a lot that we have let go of when it comes to those communal connections. In Dokis, when we used to have no road access or very little road access, a lot of people just connected together. And so it's like you grew the potatoes, you have this kind of vegetable, you have this, and we all get together and we share. And because of access to things like the road and grocery stores and more modern things, we've lost that communal connection. But there are so many things that we can do to reignite it. So one of the activities we have on Tea Talks, so like gathering generations, having tea and bannock, having stories being shared, and just being able to talk between generations to be able to understand each other better through those different means of communication, or things like communal repair activities. So you could get together as a community and go, you know what? There is a lot of garbage in the ditches. Let's all get together and let's all clean those up. And then next week we have another challenge that we do communally. Or you can do like the barter economy or trade. And so I'm really good at fixing clocks, and I really would like a blueberry pie. And Jade makes amazing blueberry pies. and needs their clock fixed. So we switch off. We're able to do those things to really reinforce our communal connections and also get things done and be able to do these beautiful things together because we aren't equipped to do absolutely everything on our own. And it's so beautiful when we can learn from each other in those amazing ways. Um, so the toolkit provides like a very large overview of so many things that you can do in community, by yourself, in your family. Things like creating a family tree also is really beautiful. I imagine it. I want one day want to do it in Dokis where we all sit together. We're all creating these family trees, and eventually you see where all the branches connect together, and you just have this forest of people, of community, of everyone that comes from here, and how beautiful that would be, and how amazing it would be also for the young ones to realize how relational we are and so many kids we if we're growing up off reserve, on reserve, or just in different parts of the community, we don't realize how interconnected we are. I absolutely love asking questions about my family and knowing, oh my God, like you're my cousin and this is how we're related and this is how our families met and all of those beautiful things. It really does help to make me feel like connected to where I'm from. But there's a bunch of different things also at the beginning of the toolkit. The importance of having gentle teachers. Not everyone is meant to teach us in a certain way. I know when we were at the AES gathering just the beginning of the month, Bocage was talking about how we have to pick our teachers in a good way. We have to make sure that those teachers are reflective of our morals, reflective of our beliefs, of our understanding of the world, and that we feel safe and comfortable with them. It's really important to have those kind of inner reflections because you want to surround yourself with good people. And so those types of things are really important. And just a reminder to teachers to be gentle, to be kind, to be loving when we are teaching, because you get so much more out of it when that way of teaching is being done. Um, at the end of the toolkit, you find another set of resources on even things like how to write a resume, how to write a letter to apply for funding, how to apply for university. All of those like really important tools that sometimes, you don't want to have to look up 10 different things. You can just click right on it and have it ready for you. There's also videos of myself introducing life promotion, introducing spirituality. And because I am francophone, I did those in French as well. And they are a little different. Um, but I wanted to give a very like unique understanding of both of those things in French and English. And there's other resources like a list of all the friendship centers by territory and province in Canada. So if you're visiting the East Coast and you're like, oh my God, I really need to go visit a friendship center, you can look through it and go, oh, I found one. It's right here. And every university and college per province and territory of knowing if they have an Indigenous council, if they have an Indigenous space in their institution. And so if you're like, I really want to go to Laurentian University, and you look through and you're like, I wonder what they have. Oh, they have an Indigenous Sharing and Learning Center. Oh, they have an Indigenous Student Alliance and an Indigenous Student Circle. That's beautiful. I know that I'll have a space there. So all of those things can be found on the toolkit as different ways to connect. I also do I have a lot of things in life promotion. It's like my favorite thing to do, my favorite thing to talk about, so I try to embed it in everything I do. And one of the things I started doing just a year and a half ago is doing research in life promotion. So my master's thesis takes on understanding what life promotion means for our communities and how it's so different for everybody, and how that's beautiful because it's really taking the teachings from the land and bringing it outwards and being able to be very place-based and serving our communities in the way that feels good. So because I am a poet, my master's thesis takes on just it becomes poetry. So it's written through poetry to be able to also reclaim our storytelling, to talk about those teachings in the way that would feel good and comfortable for us, in the way that we sit by the fireside and hear these really beautiful stories, and we pick different things from it every single time we hear them. And this is the research framework is the McConn's teachings, or the Little Roads teaching, which really explains the journey of our life. And so in the work I do in life promotion, this is one of our teaching tools to really understand what life means and where life takes us, and all of the little stages we have to overcome in our lives. And that's how I decided to frame my entire research project. And again, art is one of my favorite things to do. This is something that I created just last year. It was called To All the Words You Never Learned, ou Pour tout ce que tu n'oses pas dire. And it was a reflection on my great-grandfather's story and mine. And so I intertwined both of our stories in kind of speaking to him and asking him questions. My great-grandfather passed away in 2013, and I've learned so much about him since, and I had learned so much from him when he was still here. And when I started doing life promotion work, I realized how much of this work he had done in our communities, and he had done a little bit everywhere in Canada. And so I wanted to highlight those stories and to really speak to him and to understand how much things have changed in our communities with access to the roads and the different ways our communities have prospered, and also the things that we've lost. Like my great grandfather could be on the river and know exactly where he was, regardless of if you spun him around, if you dumped him in the water, if you brought him back out, he knew exactly where he was, and he knew where everybody was if they could just describe a few things around them. And because I never had to learn those things, I didn't. And so those things, so many beautiful teachings that we wouldn't think are necessary, are completely lost. And so this is an ode to all of his stories, and it followed the Medicine Wheel, and it was 4 poems that told the stories of my great grandfather, and kind of my reckoning with understanding what that meant as a young person. I also love life promotion as creation, and so artistry is one of my favorite things to do, to bring it forward. Storytelling, those different pieces that are so visceral, and it's hard for me as a poet or as a storyteller to make an installation that stays there without being part of it. So I love performing, I love showcasing things, but when it becomes a still image, it's hard for me because I want it to be experienced. And so when we're sitting by the fireside hearing a story, and an elder is going off and he's telling you all these things, and it's very embodied, and there's motion, and there's all these things, and you're transformed in that story. You're transported as well. And so when I create these pieces, I try to make it so that people are transported with the stories, despite it being a still image or written poem. How can I bring them into the story? And so these are 2 pieces that I created for different installations. The one in the middle goes with a poem called Titled It Survival, which narrates the story of colonization as a metaphor of destruction. And then at one point, halfway through the poem, it flips into this resurgence of knowledge, and where we choose as Anishinaabeg people or as Indigenous people to reclaim our stories, to reclaim our songs, to go back to a way of teaching that is beautiful and wonderful and amazing. And so that's a poem I created many years ago, and I've reclaimed it in different ways throughout the last few years. And this last iteration, I was asked to create something reflecting the stories of Sudbury, which is where I live in Swakmuk. And one of the things that is very apparent to me here is mining. Um, and as a scholar, as someone who studies a lot about Indigenous people and our migration and the way that mining affects our communities because of extraction, I thought about how the violence that we portray on the earth is violence against our women, and the way that our communities have shifted, and the power that our women hold to bring back those teachings. And so this skirt in the middle here is two-faced. So on the one side you have all of the animals and the ribbons, and if you flip the skirt, there are tribal patterns with the ribbons, and to show those 2 pieces coming together. And although I can't really zoom in, the middle piece is a snake or a pipeline eating itself, but from that pipeline that is representing destruction, there are flowers blooming, which is what is beaded on the outside. And so despite this erosion, despite this harm, we are growing, we are prosperous, we are beautiful people. Um, so that's what I like to highlight in these pieces. And the 2 on the side, so the roach, the vest, and the breastplate are part of a project called Can You Feel It Now, that I created with my friends, that is going to be out in the next few months, where we recreate the story of first contact between Black and Indigenous people as something voluntary. So instead of being something that was caused because of slavery, because of forced migration, because of this change of status, it's something that is set in the future, in this dystopian where we choose um, to become relation, and to become community, and we decide on where we want to bring the world forward, how we want to change the world in a positive way. And it's all narrated through poetry. And so this is what I wore when we filmed it. It's a short doc, about 10 minutes, and this is part of what I wore, as a representation of like a very traditional and modern interpretation of what regalia could look like. And so the pieces being the gold pieces of bone, with the regalia and the roach. So just bringing those pieces forward. Um, So there are so many beautiful things that I can say about life promotion. These are some of the experiences that I've had. So this is my newer regalia. Reclaiming like dancing at POW has been something that has been amazing for me and so empowering and beautiful to do in my communities, and being able to bring my non-Indigenous friends to our powwows and have them welcomed into our spaces and to teach them about our songs and our stories. And one of the things that I love about Dokis powwow is every time our MC tells the stories and explains why we're doing those things. They don't just assume that everybody knows that we enter the ring a certain way and we leave the ring and we have the flags coming in. They explain every piece of it, so we're constantly learning as we're going. And the photo in the middle is when I traveled to Fort Nelson in BC, where my friend lives, and this was one of her community's get-togethers. And so we participated in watching hand games and different things that they were doing in their communities to promote life. And this is their beautiful arbor. It's absolutely ginormous, and I would love to see one in our region because I think it would be so wonderful to have to be able to gather. Again, on the first image is our new sign that was made for our babies in Dokis in our area to recognize all of those who went to residential school and day school, just being able to bring them home and to hold them close. And so I think that concludes a little bit of what I have to say, but I love questions, and so I'd love to hear from all of you. Chimigwech.
I was on mute. So I just said thank you so much. Really nice hearing from you and really nice seeing you from our AES meeting last time. Um, so our first question that I have for you is what like inspired you to become an advocate for Indigenous youth and mental health?
That is a wonderful question. I actually, when I started university, I was headed to law school. That was my goal, and in part, it was to do similar work, but in a very different field. And so, I wanted to advocate for our communities. My goal was to be a lawyer for anything that we needed in our communities, anything that needed to be defended. I wanted to be that person. And I quickly realized the more that I took law classes, how Western the whole system is and how many barriers are being put up just to be able to defend our people, just being able to speak and have a place at their table. And at that same time where I was kind of questioning my path and changing my mind, life promotion literally fell onto my lap. It was a call out from Thunderbird, and my aunt was like, I think you should apply for this. And I did, and I got in. And I just was given this really beautiful space to learn more. And as it progressed, as I kept working in it, other opportunities started coming. So one of the organizations that I work for is Feather Carriers Leadership for Life Promotion, where we do traditional teachings on what it means to be a feather carrier or a life promoter or indamagit b'madzing, those who carry life and those who give life and provide the option of choosing life to others. And so for me, it was such an easy decision because the more that I worked in it, the more that I learned about it, the more excited I got. I'm very passionate about the work that I do, and those gifts just kept coming, and I realized that it was just the path that I was meant to take. And I don't regret any of the classes that I took in law because I think it reinforces what I know about our people and how I can help. But life promotion to me just answered a lot of questions that I've been wondering for a long time, and just allowed me to be in our communities, to learn so many beautiful things, and just kept snowballing these amazing opportunities.
I love that. So for our next one, we have what challenges have you faced in your journey? So like how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah. Challenges. I think I had a lot of challenges just myself as a person, often feeling out of place or feeling like I didn't belong in some spaces. So that was quite difficult to operate. I am also like a queer Anishinaabe French person, and so sometimes those combinations can be a little bit odd in different spaces. And so having to learn to have confidence and to believe in myself and to be able to know that those around me also believe in me was what took a long time to do. There's also systemic barriers like professors who are non-Indigenous teaching Indigenous content and being absolutely ridiculous in what they're teaching, and not understanding that these stories that we share come from experiences and come with emotion and come with a long legacy of hurt and of violence and of colonization. And so being able to speak to them and to overcome those fears of not wanting to stir the boat and just being like stir the pot. Sometimes the sentences to stir the pot of just being able to be like, this is wrong and here's why. And those pieces that gave me confidence, I owe so much to. But I didn't want to share there are so many beautiful things that come from this type of work. One of the most profound moments that I've experienced was speaking. I was emceeing for a residential school survivor conference in Vancouver just last year. And when I got up to speak, I automatically just introduced myself in the language because that's just how I do in every space. And as soon as I finished doing so, folks started clapping. And it caught me by such surprise because I didn't realize the impact of what I was doing. I'm a young person in a new generation that is speaking the language openly, and it's the first thing that we choose to do. And I know that you are doing it, and many of us just automatically go to speaking the language and being able to do that comfortably and being in a space of people who were told their entire lives not speak the language that we speak so freely, was so profound and so beautiful. So being able to overcome all those boundaries, all those obstacles, to be able to be in those spaces, makes it absolutely worth it to be to for all the hardship. I'm just so proud to be in those spaces.
I love that. That last story you just shared just like gave me a chill on my body. Yeah. So for our next question, we have, so what's like some advice do you have for the youth who are struggling with mental health?
Mm. I think it's difficult to give those answers because I remember being a youth struggling with my mental health, and I still am an adult who struggles with mental health because there's so much going on in the world, and there's so much going on in our world that makes it so difficult to take the time to prioritize ourselves without feeling selfish, because it's so easy to feel selfish when we're in community and we're like, I want to do everything for my community, and realizing sometimes doing something for my community means stepping back and taking care of myself. And so, as someone who grew up in the bush, who grew up just doing all of those land-based things, for me, taking care of myself is going to the bush for a weekend and just isolating myself in a good way, in a comfortable way, and being able to just reconnect with the land, with the waters, being able to just hear nothingness, I think for me is very welcoming. But if you grew up in the city, that might be terrible for you because there's mosquitoes and there's animals and there's all these things that you have to do to, make fire and get ready to do those things. Um, so I think one thing that's really key for me is finding out what makes you feel good. And one of the activities we actually have in the toolkit is this self-care kit. Well, a self-care kit that is like one size fits all doesn't work for most people. And it's hard to figure out what you need and what you want to feel good when you're feeling terrible. When I'm feeling bad, the world feels like it's falling apart. I don't know what I like. I don't know what songs make me feel good. I don't know what snacks like. I'm just like done. But when I feel great, I can list you so many things that I love. I love going for a walk. I love playing hockey. I love listening to folk music. I like drumming. I like eating Sour Patch Kids. Those are so many things that I'm feeling great right now. I can list you so many things. And it's important when you feel good to write those down, to keep track of those things that make you feel good. Being out with your friends, being out, going to the mall, if that makes you feel good, that makes me feel terrible. But if it makes you feel good, then it's good to have those things, to recognize when we are feeling balanced, when we are feeling in the moment. I am someone who has a lot of anxiety, and when I'm not feeling that anxiety, I try to have a mental check of like, oh, what is it about this situation that makes me feel so good and comfortable? And to have that awareness is really important in the spaces, or to also recognize when people see it in you, when they go, oh my God, you look so happy right now. You are so excited to tell me about this really specific thing that you like to do. To realize that people can tell you all of those things that make you feel good even when you're not realizing it, and to take the time to slow down in that. And I think an important piece also is seeking community, whether that's your family, your community like your First Nation, or it's your hockey team, it's your three friends that you really love. To seek community, to be able to share how you're feeling and to share what you need, even if it's much like after the crisis has passed, but being able to express yourself in that way can go a long way. And also accessing help externally if you need it. I accessed counseling throughout high school. I'm in therapy now. Those things are normal and common and okay, and it's really wonderful to be able to live in a time where those things can be spoken about very openly. And I always recommend them to people who are seeking those kinds of treatments.
Thank you. All very, very awesome advice. Um, so for our next question, we have what kind of like motivate you to pursue the double honors BA and a MA in Indigenous Relations?
I am an overachiever and I love being busy. I absolutely love it. I thrive in an environment that is go, 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 that is enriching me, that is challenging. I love being like mentally stimulated. And so when I was looking at what programs I wanted to do, and I actually started my programs at Laurentian University, and then they had a big insolvency process. So I had to transfer over to Nipissing, which was a beautiful thing because I got to learn from two different universities in the end. Um, but yeah, with the Indigenous studies, it was important to me to have that academic standing. Although I had so many teachings from my community, in Sudbury, I could learn from all the communities in Medumsing or on the island, from Atikameksheng, from Wanapate, learning about the communities that are in that region, and also adding those to all the teachings that I already knew. Race and gender studies is something that is I'm very passionate about. I do a lot of activism, speaking about different genocide, different understandings of how the world is incredibly unfair and oppressive, and those systems are so important to discuss and to shed light on. And so I wanted to have the proper education. I wanted to feel comfortable in the knowledge that I had about those types of subjects. And so that is why I chose to go into those fields. And then with that minor in law, just to be able to understand the legal processes of it and then be able to reinforce my knowledge systems through both of those lenses. My decision to get the master's in Indigenous Relations was really about wanting to stay in community. The program at Laurentian I knew was taught by all Indigenous people and community-minded or Indigenous people who know how to teach from the land, who know how to teach through poetry, through storytelling, through songs. And that was really important to me to stay within community. And I already had built such a beautiful community in Swakmuk, so remaining at that space was really important. And I didn't want anything, any higher education that was very focused on like Western practices, although I still operate within like an institution that is inherently Western. I wanted that land-based learning and those education pieces that could reinforce my learning and not necessarily have to just do with a title like an MA would.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Um, and for the last question that we have here is, what would be like the most rewarding part of your career?
Oh, it's I think the most rewarding parts is being able to see the positive impacts that I have on my communities. Um, Being able to be a role model, to be able to be a safe person to be around is so integral to who I am as a person. I have many nieces and nephews, and my brother does not have any kids. So that being that person in community that people can go to, that young ones can go to, um, it is so beautiful to me. And sometimes it's not even in what we do as people, it's just who we are and the presence that we bring. And so at powwow, I have these like powwow kids that always come to me because I always have snacks and vegetables, and we laugh and we dance and we sing, and we do all those good things. So be able to be a part of raising community, and to be a part of like raising kids in a secondary manner is really beautiful to me. There's so many times when I do youth camps and we haven't even started yet. We're just like getting together, we're chatting, we're having food, and these young ones will turn to us and just be like, "Oh wow, like I feel wonderful right now, and I feel like I'm gonna go back home and prioritize my health." And you're just like, "Wow, we haven't even started yet. We just gathered people. We just shared a few stories. Like we haven't even begun to instill those amazing values, and people just feel it when you gather in community. There's something special. And A lot of the time people ask me, especially non-indigenous people ask me like, what do you guys do when you're out there? And like I can describe the activities, but I'm like, most of the time we're just like sitting around talking around circle and we're passing around berries and like we're smoking pipe and doing all those things. And people don't get it. And then you bring them into those spaces and they're like, wow, this is life changing. And you're like, this is what I've been talking about. It's really amazing to be able to do that. And through my thesis, that's what I try to do with poetry. So instead of writing this really long paper that maybe no one will read, I wanted to bring in storytelling through that because that's the way we transmitted knowledge through metaphor and through alliteration and through fun literary devices where we understand our each other and it's very we're talking about violence, but we're also talking about strength. We're laughing, we're crying, we're experiencing all of these really lovely emotions as we go along. And so when I write poetry, I try to bring in those teachings. I try to bring in that storytelling voice, and to make people feel like they can be a part of the story instead of just being told about the story. I especially find this helpful when I'm teaching non-Indigenous people who might know very little about colonization or know a little bit, but don't really understand how they can relate to those experiences. And so when I did the installation for my great grandfather, so many people afterwards came up to me and were just telling me about how, oh, that's something that I relate to in my family. And oh, I understand that because I grew up in the bush and being able to bridge those gaps between this very like academic learning and the community-minded people that we are is so important because we're often not reached out to in community. I won't read a master's thesis unless it's relevant to me or I have to read it for school. And so, why do I expect the people that I want to give this information to sit there and read this long, kind of boring paper? I think that it's important to do those things that are accessible and that are good for our communities. Um, but yeah, going back to the question that I think, yeah, the community piece of being able to see myself in community, to provide space to others, and just to see the wonderful places we can do, the wonderful places we can end up when we do those beautiful things together.
Thank you. That was so wonderfully said. And it definitely makes me think and reflect on my own life. So, miigwech. I'm just going to open the floor for other questions from people who are on the Zoom call. Um, I just see here that Tammy has a comment that she would like to add. So, if you would like to add that now, you may do so. Oh, all right.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Okay. Bonjour, Connor. Um, just wanted to say, and again, we know each other because I'm from also from Dokis First Nation. So, Connor, it's always a pleasure to listen to you in different format or occasions. And in every occasions, you always cease to amaze me. So you're a very inspirational young adult, and you speak like a very wise elder. I know someday you'll be one of our elders at Dokis in Dokis. Very proud of your accomplishment and your journey so far. Bravo. You'll go far. You're already far, but you'll go farther. So again, miigwech, chimigwech for your sharing and for being part in the school system with your toolkit, life promotion toolkit, which is starting to be in our school board at Conseil Scolaire Catholique Franco-Nord. So thank you very much, chimigwech, and looking forward to following you on your path.
Merci beaucoup. Yeah, it's really amazing to be able to be in community even over Zoom and to be able to just share those stories. One of the things that Tammy was mentioning was the toolkit is going to be embedded in Ontario curriculum in the next year. And so being able to bring in more Indigenous teachings in every facet of the school system, math and science and phys ed and all of those things. There's so many things that we can do with our knowledge systems. And so I'm working very hard with School Mental Health Ontario, which is an organization that is under the Ministry of Education in the mental health department. And we're bringing the toolkit to schools. So there might be videos in the near future of me speaking to a camera about all the wonderful things that you can do with the toolkit in schools. So, Chimigach for that.
Thank you so much. Okay. What time are we at here? So we have, okay, we're at 2:48. I think that pretty much wraps up our whole presentation. I just want to say thank you so much, Connor. You shared so much good advice and stories, and I know that I definitely took away something from this session here. So, Chimigwech, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Chimigach to you, and I'll see you at the powwow.